I am Pyrophilus, the red, cold poison stone, here to preserve the heart of man. He is Robert Boyle. It is 1664. We are in London, as we left Ireland for his health. Of late he has been dropping the al and becoming a chemist. We speak to everyone. His curiosity abounds. We spend our days in enlightened rooms and our moonful evenings snuffing candles and watching. He has been talking about the prolongation of life and recalling the pestilence, the odd pestilence. For me, he holds back the tedious and complicated. In its stead, he addresses that which is easily observed with my eyes, taken into my hands and turned over. He pushes me to look deeply into all that relates to one another and draw my own conclusions. He never ceases. He never ceases, as there is always more to see.
Dream, Tuesday 14th of April. I was out and about doing my usual thing. Kissed her on the cheek and we hugged, and there was some weird. She licked her hand and touched me. And then I realized that it was COVID-19 time and I was in big trouble. There were people everywhere. I looked out and there was a billboard. I'm not sure what it said. I had a few moments with myself until I just said, this is awful. We have to stop being close to each other. And it was like this awful dawning on me that there was nothing I could do, that I couldn't rewind, there were too many people about. I couldn't take it back. She couldn't hear me, so she kept coming closer. So I got out of there and went to the hotel I was staying in that night, which was an awful dingy old place. And I was staying with my bandmates, two guys, one in a stripy shirt. And again, the same thing. One was lying up on the pillow. I was hunkered down at the end of the bed next to the other one, and they just kept coming closer. And to one of them I said, get away from me. And he was completely offended, and he made a big deal out of it. He wouldn't get away from me. The other one was like, just kept creeping closer as well. I was like, all right, that's it. And I said, that's it. And I realized that I was actually going to go home. I was going to miss everything. I was going to, whatever gig we were there for, I was going to not do it. And I was going to go home, and I was relieved by it, relieved by the idea of going home, which I set off to do.
And first I remember that having been free for several years from troublesome coughs, being afterwards, by an accident, suddenly cast into a violent one, I did often, when I was awaked in the night by my distempers, observe that upon coughing strongly it would seem to me that I saw very vivid, but immediately disappearing flames, which I took particular notice of because of the conjecture I am now mentioning. An excellent and very discreet person, very near allied both to you and me, was relating to me that some time since, whilst she was talking with some other ladies, upon a sudden all the objects she looked upon appeared to her dyed with unusual colours, some of one kind and some of another. but all so bright and vivid that she should have been as much delighted as surprised with them, but that finding the apparition to continue, she feared it portended some very great alteration as to her health. As indeed the day after she was assaulted with such violence by hysterical and hypochondriacal distempers, as both made her rave for some days and gave her during that time a bastard palsy. Being a while since in a town where the plague had made great havoc, and inquiring of an ingenious man that was so bold as without much scruple to visit those that were sick of it, about the odd symptoms of a disease that had swept away so many there, he told me, among other things, that he was able to tell divers patients to whom he was called before they took their beds, or had any evident symptoms of the plague, that they were indeed infected, upon peculiar observations, that being asked they would tell him that the neighbouring objects, and particularly his clothes, appeared to them beautified with most glorious colours, like those of the rainbow, sometimes succeeding one another, and this he affirmed to be one of the most usual, as well as the most early symptoms by which this odd pestilence disclosed itself.